Sentro knitting machines, which one should you purchase? And if you go onto Amazon, are you confused about machines that look exactly the same but have a different brand on them? So let's discuss a few options that are available for the Sentro knitting machines first, and then go into some of these weird off-brand looking ones. So Sentro knitting machine is kind of the main brand people recognize. Competitor to the Sentro circular knitting machine would be the King Addy. I don't have any of the Addies, so I'm going to specifically just talk about the Sentros and options and what to look for. The smallest circular knitting machine that you can get from Sentro is the 22 needle circular knitting machine. A word of caution with these are the least expensive, but I have had about 3 of these. I kept returning them because they never worked great with the yarn. I ended up, from a comment on TikTok, someone said they had to get a replacement handle, which has a bigger gear to turn this in here. And I got mine from Grumpy Head's Design on Etsy. Once I swapped out this handle, this machine works great. So even though this is the least expensive machine you can get, it's 22 needles. You are going to need to most likely get an upgraded handle, and the handle I think was like 30 bucks. So that kind of adds to the cost of this. So this is one I don't recommend for beginners, even though it's the least expensive. You're going to probably have to upgrade the handle to get it to work, and you're very limited on the projects you can do on it. If you're wanting to make adult size beanie hats in the round, this won't do it. This makes like dollar preemie size beanie hats. The next size up, which sometimes confuses people, is there's a Sentro 40 needle, which is bigger than the 22, obviously, because it has 40 needles instead of 22. It does not come with a row counter. I had to order this separately on Amazon, and it's a digital row counter that comes on that I glued on, and it has this little magnet, and every time it goes around it does this. So if you're seeing a price difference between two machines and you're like, why is one less expensive? Sometimes it's because you're looking at a 40 versus the 48, which is the largest. We'll talk about that one next. And so if you do not see a row counter on it, like this has a built-in row counter. If you don't see a row counter, you're probably looking at the 40 needle knitting machine. These are great for infant to toddler size beanie hats if we're going around. I'm talking about beanie hats just because that's kind of the first things people make on these to learn how to use the machine. Then you can make scarves, you can make cardigans, you can make sweaters, you can make blankets, you can make a whole bunch of stuff, but kind of size-wise, if you also want to make hats in the round, this one will do infant to about toddler size. The one I forgot to mention is there is floating around a 32 needle knitting machine that kind of looks like a mushroom. This one was not branded under the Sentro knitting machine name. And it has this lid which doesn't do anything. It just looks cute. And it's a 32 knitting needle machine. So this one I like making little coin purses with, but it's really not necessary because if you're wanting to make hats or get into making wearables, I would say definitely steer clear of this. It did work very well. I didn't have to upgrade the handle on it. It does work great, but it's under a different brand name when I ordered it off of Amazon. This is what it came in as. Oh, and I'm missing the holder. Lastly, you have the 48 needle knitting machine. This is the largest circumference machine Sentro makes. Now I have two. I have this Fygain. This was the very first one I ordered off of Amazon, kind of not knowing what I ordered. It's always worked really well. I ended up putting a motor on it so I don't have to hand crank when I hurt my shoulder. The motors, it works pretty good. It's slow. If you have shoulder issues and the cranking is an issue, I'll show you what you can do instead of cranking. So I really wouldn't recommend spending the money on this. It was cool. It was neat. I do use it because it's on the machine now. And the Fygain, it did work great. It worked really good. I have not had any issues with it. I did add a digital row counter to it along with the regular row counter that comes with it. So that's the 48 needle. And then I've also gotten the Sentro 48 needle knitting machine, also off of Amazon. The store was Sentro versus the store being Fygain. And there's a lot of different businesses that seem to sell these machines, and they kind of changed the name on the machine. Looking at these, they're absolutely identical. I have found no difference in any of the components. What I've researched online, what's come up on Reddit and different forums, is that there's a few overseas manufacturers that makes these for Sentro, and then either they just buy directly from the manufacturer, or maybe Sentro sells it to these other companies and they brand them and sell them under their own name. But I'm really not sure. That was all just kind of guessing from what people think on the internet. All the components on the two different brands I have purchased, all the components seem to be exactly the same. I'm not finding any difference to them. Sentro also has a website. I think it's centroknitting.com, where they ship internationally if you don't want to order off of Amazon. But both of them work great. I put on a digital row counter on both of these. The row counter only works in tube mode, which is down here, T for tube, where it goes round and round and round. Then there's also a panel mode, so you can make wide panels. The row counter that comes with it doesn't work in panel mode. That's why I have a digital row counter, so I can count my panels, rows for my panels when I make it. Now, the 48 needle circular knitting machine, it is going to make adult size beanie hats. Average side head circumference between like 21 to 23 inch head circumference. This is probably this will make a beanie hat for you. If you're like my husband, who has a 24-inch head circumference, I have to use thinner yarn from him and make more rows, and it stretches pretty good and it will fit on him. But I can't use the thicker number 4 yarns when I make him beanie hats. It's just too tight on his head, but this will do it for those type of larger head circumferences, or for someone who has a lot of hair as well. So this one works really well. If you're confused on which size you should get, I always recommend going with the 48 needle. You're going to be able to get the most bang for your buck getting the largest circumference. If you want to make infant size beanie hats, I do have a tutorial on how you can make it doing panel mode. You just use 40 needles. So you're pretty much making the same circumference as your 40 needle. It's definitely quicker on the 40 needle circular knitting machine, which is why I ended up buying this machine to make real quick gifts. I usually wait for like Black Friday or something like that, or Cyber Monday. Just know your pricing. And because I got this like 4 years ago. My first one I got about 5 years ago. Never had issues with the crank handles on the 48 needle circular knitting machine, even though that Grumpy has designs where I got this one does make replacement ones. And I never had an issue on my 40 Sentro, even on the Fygain, never had an issue. I just ended up putting the motor on it. And same for this one, which is by Zykiv by, I don't know how to say it. Never had an issue with this, but the handles look exactly the same as the handle on this one. You can get replacement parts. You can get a lot of replacement parts like needles and stuff off of Amazon. I even think Sentro on their official website, they do sell on Amazon, like here, but you can also go to their website and they do sell some replacement parts as well. They all come with these suction cups at the bottom. These, to me, they eventually do lose their suction and only really work on like a glass or a granite countertop, or maybe a Formica countertop. They don't really work on wood, but I get reusable sticky silicone glue pads that people use for their cell phones. And I cut it up and I stick it on the bottom. I cut them up. They come in a bit, I get 4 out of one sheet. They usually come in a pack of 10. And each sheet gives me 4, and I stick them on each of the suction cups like this. And these will stick to like a wood table. They don't leave any residue, and it works really well. And then I just put a protective film back over it when I want to go to store it. So here is the drill attachment that I did get for my machine. It attaches to the crank handle like this. I purchased mine on Amazon. I believe Sentro on their website also sells them. And then you can get a low power drill. If you're using a standard size drill, you want to make sure it's on low power. I like these little drills because they're just not as powerful. The first time I use this on my machine, which is why I have a word of caution with these, is I spin it so fast that it heated up the plastic of the machine, and I welded my crank handle to my machine. I got it to crack back open. I didn't ruin my machine, thankfully, but that's just something to keep in mind. You do want to go slower with these. You don't want to go full blast power, so you don't break anything on your machine. If you're a very new beginner, crank with your hand first to learn how to use the machine to get the right yarn, then try the drill attachment if you want it. So hopefully that helps with this. I know there's many different brands that do off labels. As far as I can tell, they are the same components. There's not a lot of information out there, unfortunately, but if you want to get a Sentro, go with the shop on Amazon that says it is from Sentro, but I have used the Fygain and it's worked very well. I've had him for 5 years. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Happy crafting, everybody.